is funk. Thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, I late in the thick of it all. I wonder, how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Realize life is so much more than just living a day. Every day I can sit and reflect and breathe and connect to myself and all that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So when I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress. The rain be looking like when blessings drop in. And so I cop myself a cup of coffee, sip of water, rain it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. But water rain it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Hey, here we go. Yeah. Let's do this. Y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. In times of test, let no harm beset me, oh my Lord, oh my Lord.
I can breathe. I can actually breathe. It's been 4, maybe 5 years since I've been able to breathe. Do you experience these same feelings, ladies and gentlemen?
I do.
Who's that? A kindred voice? It's a friendly voice. It's Ryan Velez and David Price on this jubilant night, this night of celebration, this night of victory, this night of being able to breathe, and this night of toasting. Gentlemen, let's have a quick toast. Thank you, David. Shall we?
To Joe Biden.
I don't have to say this tonight.
Okay. Was I a good drunk on that? Like
Brian, you've never been a good anything.
No, I haven't been. I'm not a good drunk because I laugh all the time.
Nothing. You haven't been a good anything.
Okay, so we're starting off with mirth.
Right, exactly.
So anyway,
where we left off last week.
And by the way, we're going to have George Linning coming up soon. He's betting on the Giants right now, but he'll be right here, I'm sure. So anyway, gentlemen, it's just an emotion. If anybody's watching tonight, it's more of just a feel tonight. I mean, we have nothing prepared. We are just off the top of our heads, like we usually do. But tonight, there's a sense of relief. Every one of us is smiling tonight. I'm not actually angry, although there are worries, but I'm sure Dave would just say, set them aside. But
tonight,
do you feel the difference tonight, Dave and Ryan?
Oh yeah, I have a friend. He's a therapist, and so he's doing a lot of telehealth right now. And he big not Trump fan. He likes pretty much anyone that didn't run or anyone who wasn't Trump. And he actually posted today that he's having a record number of people cancel their appointments. It's as if like some kind of
Wow.
blanket has been lifted. He said it was like a
That's
bunch of
funny.
appointments. So he says bad for him, but good at the same time, you know?
But he's smiling the whole time because he sounds like a guy who puts the country first.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that was one of my favorite things I read today. It's just like that's not something I would have thought about, but totally it's true. We all know it's true. So yeah,
Right.
I feel better.
And Dave, what's your feeling right now?
Oh, as you said,
Because you're always kind of like full of energy, and if anyone has to answer this question, it's you, because this thing
Do you
has
notice
destroyed
what
you.
you know what I'm not tonight? I'm not full of energy.
That's the weirdest thing.
It is, and I'll tell you why. Crying takes something out of me, and and here's what I got: not tears of sadness. Good Lord, I've cried those over the years. And just before the show, obviously, I'm down here in the studio, and Judy said, "Are you going to watch this with me?" And I said, "No, I got some work to do." But of course, I turned it on. Right now, I knew. Look, I'm not. I mean, yes, it's a surprise, but I mean, it was a done deal as of 11 o'clock today. And Joe Biden comes out, and I not at first I held it together, and then I just cried, but tears of joy. The best way I can describe it is, and I haven't been thinking about this, but I'm just saying, the two most important people in the world to me are my granddaughter Audrey and my grandson Owen. And I've mentioned on the show before they're temporarily in Australia, and I thought this is something that bothered me. They both asked me, Grandpa, if Donald Trump wins, do we have to come back to America? One is 12. Will be Audrey will be 13 in December. They're very political. They're very astute. Their mother and father make sure they are. They know what I do. A little humor here. I've been at the White House every day. Audrey, my granddaughter, texts Judy. It's her grandmother, my wife, and says, "Why are you letting Grandpa go again to the White House to protest?" But I mean, they're very aware of this stuff. And I started thinking, and I said to them, I just said, "No, you don't." And I meant that. And at 11 o'clock today, I'm okay with the two most important people in my life coming back to a country because they're coming back with the possibility of not having the country that they had when they left. That country died at 11 o'clock if one person represents that country, and that's Donald Trump. And we can go into all the things of why. I can play your role tonight of why, but this is a night of jubilation. And I think I was crying because, I couldn't do that. I didn't want to be against my country. And yet 74 million, this was not Dave Price night, and Lord knows I have a big ego, but it took 74 million people doing the right thing. I also struggled of how to describe this. And this is what I think it is. Now, that's my personal feelings. I'm so happy. Jesus. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. But looking at it, I try to put it as a writer into something, and I'm not that good at it. But if I were to talk about this, this is the way I feel. From the first human who emerged, I think of good and evil. It's there, and initially it's running on foot, and then it gets on, a camel, then on a chariot. But today, we have automobiles, and they're driving down the road. And they're driving, the end of their destination is the end of time, whatever that is. And sometimes evil's ahead. It's like not really a race, but it kind of is. And for 4 years, evil's been in the lead. It has.
Absolutely.
And today at 11 o'clock, the cars changed positions for at least 4 years. We can be happy. We can breathe. Last comment, again, not about me. At 11:04, I actually wrote it down. We live in an apartment building, 12 stories, 2 towers, a lot of young people. They look at us like, Jesus, they never see anybody as old as Judy and I. And spontaneously, 3 different times, it just exploded. as if it were New Year's Eve. They're out there banging pots, pans. I closed the window before I came out. They're still sending fireworks out there. I walked down the street today. I had my Joe Biden in less than a quarter mile. Not me at all. They should do it for me, but for my shirt, people stopping, honking, smiling, great shirt. Went to lunch. Everybody were just talking. It's a new America, kids. It's the now we got a chance to make it the America it should be. And damn it, we will.
Ryan, would you like to add anything to that?
Well, a lot of people don't know this. I was not very political until about 6 months or maybe a year. I don't know. 6 months, something like that. 6 months before Trump won his term. And I just keep, posting online, reading, arguing with people, fruitless arguments. It's like you argue and argue, you put sources out there, and people just send 40 more sources back to you that are from crazy websites that have nothing to do with anything. And I am so tired of it. I am so tired that science is spit on, and I'm just disgusted that the country, or that this race was as close as it was.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm happy that Joe Biden won, and it is historic that he got 74 million votes, but it's also like he got him having the most votes to me is slightly irrelevant because he beat the guy who had the second most votes at this point. So it just means it was really close. And so I am very hopeful for the future, for the next 4 years at least. But I do think that, like, even in Joe Biden's speech tonight, he was saying, like, we need to come together as equals. We need to talk to each other. We need to see each other. And my first thought was, I do see the people now. That's the problem. So that's going to be my issue, is like, how do I have failed for 4 years to communicate to people. Before I knew you guys, I had something like 2,000 Facebook friends at my peak. And I had so many people commenting on my wall, because my wall was a cesspool of anything. As long as you didn't cuss at each other, I considered it civil, which was a bad rule. But like, I mean, I had all kinds of stuff. I had Fox News correspondents commenting on my wall at least once.
Really?
That happened. Yeah, well, I tagged Fox News and they didn't like what I wrote.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then I got all kinds of people. But I mean, I was having thousands of people, and I was writing down comments, figuring out what it means to be a Democrat or a liberal or a conservative, because I didn't have a great idea, honestly. And holy crap, like, I had to get away from it after 2.5 years. I couldn't handle it. I deleted like everyone then. I've had like 5 purges of my Facebook account since that point. I wrote a blog entry about it at one point too. But like, it's just nuts. So for me, this is a deep sigh of relief. I'm not even worried about all the litigation lawsuit crap. I'm not even worried about it. Like, I'm just like, dude, go to court. I don't care.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, for me, it's just, I am relieved on many fronts. I have my disagreements with Joe Biden, but I am very hopeful that he will have a great presidency.
And by the way, we have to, first of all, a quick note from George. George will be joining us shortly. He's on the phone with somebody. He'll be right here. I just want to also say, for the people who used to be involved on the Reality Report, or anybody who will see this later, one of the first thing that Joe Biden said is, he would have 4 executive orders, and the very first thing he said, he was going to rejoin the Paris Accords. And the fact that he said that first, I thought that was fantastic. I think there's a lot of things he could have said ahead of that. It doesn't matter, but the point is he said it, and I think that's an important thing because it means it's important.
There's so many things that won tonight or today. America won. Of course, first of all, Joe Biden won. Of course, in Kamala Harris. America won. The values of America won. But let's get a little bit more specific. Science won. I want to say that. Now, we all look at something from our own perspectives. Great. And Brian, you and I have been a couple things together. We've been musicians and we've been teachers.
Teachers, right.
And notice where he started. Can you imagine, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump getting up? Did you catch who he talked about first? Of course, he talked about Jill, right? His wife. They have a true love affair. I could be really crass tonight and say something like this. We'll finally have a first lady instead of a first hooker, but I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, don't say that.
Joke night.
Okay.
No, what I'm going to say is this, right? I love teachers. I love teaching. I love education. I'm going to suggest tonight, not in a smart way, not in a hostile way, for anybody who's on the other side. This is called divided we stand, which means there's an us and a them. I'd like to suggest them they do two things. One is read. That's one way to expand your mind. And the second thing is go find somebody unlike you. Straights go to gay, black, and start talking to them. And but back to the education thing, Biden said, and from a purely selfish standpoint, I don't know if you heard it, Brian, something. I'm loosely paraphrasing. You teachers have an advocate in the White House. You won tonight, so we got science, we got teachers. More winnings tonight: empathy, compassion. I hate Donald Trump.
Really?
I will hate Donald Trump until the day I die or the day he dies. And if there is an afterlife, which I do not believe, I will hate Donald Trump for all eternity because he tried to destroy my country. He tried to destroy the world. He tried to kill my grandchildren, literally. Right. I understand that. And that's the way to do it. And I have to do it. I'm leading into something. I wouldn't kill Donald Trump. Tonight I feel a little sad for him because he's programmed to be Donald Trump. But here's the thing. And everybody out there listen to this. See the smiles, hear the laughter. That is not going on tonight in the White House.
Right.
Going on in the White House.
Can you imagine the abuse he's
not going on
thrashing
in the
out
White
of
House.
people?
And, we're talking about education tonight. This can't happen because schools can't be this political. I think if you want to understand the two visions of 21st century America, you just need two speeches, neither of which are the greatest speeches in American history, not even near it. But they capture the us and them of the 21st century. Take the speech that Trump made from the White House the other night. Play it, sit there. Play the speech Joe Biden made tonight. That's all you need. We got a chance. We got rid of Donald Trump's America with Donald Trump there. Now, let me make myself clear. We did not get rid of Donald Trump's America. I kind of misspoke. We got rid of the leader of Donald Trump's America, who is Donald Trump. And we've got a leader of the America that, honestly, if you can't get behind, I can't care about you. I got to move on. A little bit politics, more in depth. Not a disappointment. I think, we want the Senate too. We want it all. Not because we're greedy, but they've got the Supreme Court. That's fine. They got something. They can keep that for. Yet we haven't lost the Senate. Think about that. We haven't lost the Senate.
Not yet.
No, it's 50-48. There's two people running in Georgia. Now, it is a tough haul in Georgia to be a Democrat. But who just won Georgia, gentlemen? Joe Biden. They have, and a shout out tonight to Stacey Abrams. I love Jim Carville, man, but Stacey Abrams did something. I mean, the way she organized Georgia. Look, she'd be the governor.
She won that state. She won that state.
If she wasn't cheated out of it. Now, so that gives me some ideas. So suddenly, just think about this. The candidate John Ossoff was the most impressive candidate I saw in the election after Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And he's going up against David Perdue. And it's almost a shame because we associate the name Perdue, spelled the way it is, with Frank Perdue and his chicken. And David Perdue, if he was in the chicken business, could only produce foul raunchy chicken. And I love chicken. So there's a chance there, right? The best we got against him, a Jewish candidate, John Ossoff, against a man whose religion involves literally white hoods and white sheets. And then in the other, you have a woman for the Republicans, but they make a little bad idea. They just think, give me a woman and women will follow. Well, women are very smart. They're much smarter than us. They're born smarter. They leave the planet smarter. So they're not just going to vote for a woman because she's a woman. They're going to look against a rising Black American who's never run for politics. But if you're going to say, Brian, and you just said it, African Americans, it can't be said enough. African Americans saved American democracy, despite the fact that for 401 years, they have been treated unfairly by white America. Now, Black community in Atlanta, I lived there for 14 months. They're ready. So let's assume, and it may not happen, it may be 0-2, it could be 2-0, 1-1, whatever it is, but let's assume just for a moment, let's keep those smiles going, kids. And let's assume that Ossoff win, both candidates win. Guess what happens? If you have a 50-50 Senate, which it would be, the tie vote goes to the vice president. You won't have the 60 supermajority, but you will have enough to pass and go. Last point about Senate. I really am not that concerned. I mean, I'd like to have it, but I'll tell you this. Mitch McConnell, and you can come back, Brian, and haunt me if I'm wrong. Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell could probably not be more different in certain ways, but they've worked together and they have a mutual respect. Certainly there is a possibility, remote though it may be, that if anybody can work in America who's a Democrat can work with Mitch McConnell, that man became president at 11. There's no reason tonight anywhere in America for pessimism. You can worry about some other things. And Ryan, I want to address your court thing for a minute, because
Can I go back 1 second though for what you said about
sure.
the African Americans, because I don't want to lose this stuff. You
Absolutely.
mentioned the importance of the African American base, which essentially put them over. Because there was an African American doctor who was being interviewed today, and she said something to the effect that I think a minority of white American females voted for Biden, which is it's very depressing, very depressing. But it was the African American vote that put him over. And if you noticed when he gave his speech, when he gave special attention to African Americans, he pounded on the podium there, and he said, "You had my back, and I've got yours." So he can't just place anybody, in his cab. He can't just have. He's really got to do the right thing.
Let's look at that. And I'm not saying you're a negative comment. You're raising. Who did he choose for his vice president? The name, please. I forget. Brian, could you tell me? Kamala, what's her last name?
Harris.
Okay. Now, what if you're going to do skin tones? What color is she? Is she white?
No.
Now we'll go.
It's great. I can just answer yes or no with Dave. There's no problem.
And here's what you got, right? So you've got now. We could get into really great debates about how black is she, and I'm going to suggest to you that she is 100% black in this sense.
Well, there's no question she's black.
Do you know where she went to college? I wouldn't expect you to.
Howard University,
which is in D.C. One of it's in my town now. Philly used to be my town, and I've spent time up there. It is a marvelous campus. But I've talked to not hundreds, but a whole raft, because they're around here, Howard graduates, and there's something special about that school.
Yes.
And Kamala went in, and she tells you this. She went in not real sure about who she was in terms of racial identity, but it's better because then she has the Jamaican. She has the Indian, not American Indian. Wow. And so when you say, when Joe Biden says, and I agree with you, words are cheap, action means everything. I think he's pretty much indicated
Oh, he
that
will.
the direction he will go with his vice president. Now, there was a risk in taking Kamala. There really was a huge risk. Again, not a night to berate the other side, but just to say that. I'm sure that there were a lot of people who were on the other side who objected to either Kamala's gender and or her racial classification.
Yes.
So it wasn't a it was a kind of in a way a brave move. Now the other side said, well, they got her to pander, whatever. Okay, whatever. But we did that. One group tonight that I want to do an interesting thing too. We're not going to get into who's the most oppressed and all that, but the Native Americans, if they're not the most oppressed with Black Americans, it's back and forth. I didn't realize that until I read today. 6 Native Americans of Native American descent are headed to Congress. Now, 6 out of all that isn't a lot, but it's a lot better than 1, right? Now,
Yeah, I mean, you got to build from somewhere.
and that's it. And it's very hard to build from there. Now, people worry about Joe Biden. Joe Biden has spent his life as a conciliatory type candidate. As when he said tonight, when he talked about America, he is America too. The hard scrabble working life. I love, and I know it probably didn't even happen, but it's such a great ending. He uses it all the time. When we would leave the house, Grandpa would say, "Joey, keep the faith," and he said, "No." Grandma would say, "No, Joey, spread the faith." Now you're talking about that in religion, but he's talking about politics is his faith. Donald Trump, politics was a way for him to enhance the only thing he cares about, Donald Trump. So Joe Biden just didn't say the words tonight. He's lived the words. He will be the words. And to those of us who are more liberal than Joe Biden, especially the young, who when I was young, it has to be my way, all that. I would say to you that just imagine this. If Joe Biden moves too far to the right or too far to the centrist, in his right ear will be Bernie Sanders, whom he respects, and his left ear will be AOC. I'll take that any day of the week. Versus in Donald Trump's right ear will be the person he's going to fire today, and his left ear will be whomever, and he wouldn't listen to either one of them. Joe Biden is a listener. He will listen, but he will not back down. Musically, I love this tonight. I always pay attention to the selections, and this is maybe the neatest point to me of all. If whenever Donald Trump plays a song, whoever wrote that song sues him. That's true. It's not made up. Elton John has sued him. Neil Young has sued him. He plays YMCA. Wait a minute, you're anti-gay. Why are you playing the gay national anthem? So he's stupid, he gets sued. I guarantee you tonight, if Tom Petty were alive, they played I Won't Back Down. Tom, and I don't do a good Tom Petty. He's one of the tragic losses. I love him. I love the band. Mike Campbell, I'll see you with your new band. He was a guitar player for them. Tom would go out, and I do a terrible Tom Petty, but Tom, hey, Joe, thanks for playing that song. Now, you say, a big deal. No, that's a huge deal. That's a huge deal. Black writers' songs were represented tonight. I'm not talking about the diversity of it. That could be playing with. But every single songwriter tonight, if they were alive, would not only agree to let Joe Biden play that song, they'd be honored that he did. What we did, promise last comment in this, but I really want to make this. I was a comic book kid.
Comment.
On this, I just said on this.
Okay.
No, somebody has to correct you all night.
I have to slow you down here. It's like 15 less comments.
Shut up. Now, you're number 2 after Donald Trump on my hit list.
I got a question for Ryan.
Here we go. Any comic fans out there, this goes to you, old timers like me. DC Comics Superman, there was a Bizarro Superman. And what it was, they were opposite, like a Frankensteinian. Today, we got rid of the Bizarro Superman and added the real Superman.
Okay. I want to go to a couple comments because normally this kind of question we've kind of like addressed this kind of thing, but because it's coming from Keith in Australia, I think it's important because from the outsiders, they always want to ask this question. You know,
I have
the
an
possibility
answer
to,
to that one.
and Ryan, I think you're the one more so than myself or than Dave to answer this because you're from Kentucky, and I'm not saying that. I mean, Kentucky is not like Mississippi or Louisiana or something like that, but it's where Mitch McConnell's from, and you do have that element there of, hey, we're not going to do this. What's your insight into that kind of, how to answer that kind of question?
Yeah, I've got two things to answer it. One of them just sets the stage, and I'll start there. I was looking at the electoral map tonight and comparing electoral votes and turnout percentage of all the red states. And I was wondering, do I live in the most red state? And it turns out by population and vote percentage, it's a pretty darn close tie between Tennessee and Kentucky and Alabama. Those two states are a little bigger than Kentucky, but our percentage was higher than theirs in terms of pro-Trump versus Biden.
Right.
And so I feel like I'm in one of the three most red states. I mean, Texas was almost 50. It was like 40 to 55
that
or
was
something.
that was close, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So even Texas is not as red as Kentucky. But anyway, so the point is, it's a very red state. And I am not a gun owner, never will be. I would rather just die than murder people or shoot them. I'm just not interested in that. It's not the world I want to live in, so I don't want to participate. I don't believe owning a gun makes the world safer. So I don't own a gun and I won't. But, everybody has that thought of, if X happens, I'll go buy a gun. And for me, it's overthrowing election results and things like that. Like, that's when I think war might happen. Is like if suddenly the Supreme Court's like, no, we're giving it to Trump, and they just discount votes with no. I mean, like that's the when I go buy a gun kind of threshold, provided that I could even get one. But I may not even give a crap at that point. But the point is, in Kentucky, I remember I was stressed out about this question a few weeks ago because I was like, you know what? I don't want to shoot anyone. I don't want to be in that. So here's what I did. I took a drive. I had to go buy some lumber, and I was like, I'm just going to take a drive while I'm doing this. And I was just looking at people in cars on the side of the road. I see a pregnant mom. I'm like, oh, yeah, she wants to go to war. And then I see an old guy with his wife, shuffling down the sidewalk. I'm like, oh, yeah, they want to go to war. Mm-hmm. I see a group of black people. Oh, they look like they want to go to war. Like, I'm just looking at all these people just everywhere. And I'm like, nobody wants to go to war. This is stupid. Like, come on. Like, you can't own a house if there's war in the streets. I mean, come on. You can't. It's just nuts.
I think only Alex Jones wants to go to war. Let him fight it alone.
He's a complete idiot, that guy.
Yeah, he has to pick on somebody who's like an MMA guy.
May I interject something to Ryan's comment? I'm angry. You just said that Alex Jones was a complete idiot. You insulted every complete idiot in the world. So could you say he's beyond a complete idiot? Please, just for me.
Sure, he is beyond idiocy. I mean, he is just those personalities. They make money off of how big the vein in their neck is. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Exactly.
It's just stupid. They're just yelling and. It's just dumb. So anyway, my point is, from a red state perspective, every gun owner, Trump voter that I know does not want to go to war. I don't believe they do. I have not seen a single one posting that I'm going to do it. It's fortunately the extremist groups. Like I believe Trump had record turnout because he did. He had record turnout as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He did. Yeah, but. His record turnout, I would bet, is fringe voters who typically don't vote. And that's where his boost came from. That's what I think. I think Joe Biden's turnout was people of color and young people. I think that's the two groups that he turned out.
That is correct.
So I just don't believe that war is on the horizon. I just
And I think that some young Republican men will finally get back into the dating season, so to speak.
Oh,
Because,
I gave you what a
Yeah.
thief! I gave.
all right, I'm not giving you any
And
credit
you
for that.
know,
But I will let you speak on the
do
next
that.
question here.
No,
Oh,
no, I want to
Jesus.
speak on that one.
Oh,
You put it out there. I come from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. There will not, if there is civil war, I agree with everything Ryan said, but we have the best weapon. Joe Biden is president, has the military. Let every vigilante come up against the guys in live in my building who go to work at the Pentagon and get in tanks and jets and
Right.
flamethrowers. No, that's not
Is
going to
that-
come to that. And
is that
Keith, we're
true?
not-
Is that how Pentagon guys drive to work in tanks? I
No,
didn't
they
know
get
that.
there and they get in them.
they know where they are.
They know where they
surely
are.
do.
The secret tank.
And and by the way, David, just to confirm your thoughts, I think historically this is true that no mercenary army has won a war on its own ever.
And I'm going to take you a step further. We might not be America today if the British, who were supposedly our enemy, would do troops. Well, you could also say they were war fans. They ended up with Hessians, which were technically Germans, fighting as mercenaries. They didn't care for England. They didn't care for us. I mean, it didn't matter. And you're right, Brian. It's just amazing to me. The other thing I would say is Donald Trump is the king of many things, but he's the king of the bullies. Now,
And
it's
champion
one
of
thing-
nothing.
Well, I didn't say.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. No, but the king of the bullies. Did he fight in Vietnam? I forget. Did he?
He got hit by a pillow. I know that.
Yeah.
Do you
Maybe
know
a
what he
hiccup
said?
belt.
This is important tonight. Do you know what he said? Actually said, I'm not making. Why? I don't have to make this stuff up. It's wonderful. He said, social diseases was my enemy. I fought that. The man said, wow. Almost makes Alex Jones look like just.
He thinks he's
regular.
funny because as somebody
He was no, yeah.
son died. He's joking
my
around.
Point is, he doesn't. He's a bully. All these people walking around guns, and if you want, gun guys. I mean, play this to you. Come get me. I'm not that brave, but what I'm saying is, they walk around with the guns. The question is, will they use them? Another thing that we have to remember, and this goes out to Keith. Your question is very real. Anybody who doesn't live in America is asking what the hell happened. But the thing about war, like Ryan said, it's really, really, really hard to fight a civil war. We've had one, right?
Especially
In our
now
history.
because we're all intertwined from down the street as the Republican.
Yeah, right. So I mean, no. Now, if you take the word civil war and take it from civility, not from a split, oh yeah, that's going to go on for a long, long time.
Which will lead to the next question.
But the weapons, no.
Okay, now, also, first of all, I'd like to say good evening to Osama number 5, who was, a big part of the reality report. He used to, comment on a lot of our shows. He's on other things on the internet. So it's good to see you, Osama. Hope you're still there. But he does have a good question, Dave, that I think you'll be much better than I would at answering this. At least you've answered this many times. So he says, guess you're going to change the name of the show now, Brian, because now Biden wants us to unite.
Well, A, we are. But B, again, I'm going to give some history, just brief history. A lot of people know it, but I just want to. All the credit for this show, if you like it, has to go to Brian Weinstein. And here's why. He actually is truly humble, so just don't say anything. I'm the opposite. I'm not humble. I would take the credit if I could, but I can't. And the basic idea was we felt frustrated. We didn't feel that we were helping the cause. I've always worked elections since I've been here. I didn't feel I wanted to jeopardize my life. I'm not good on the phone. I'm a out in the street guy. And Brian gave me a lifeline. He came up with a way we could do it. And so this show was born. And thank you to everyone who listens to this, who's ever listened to this, who's commented. These are not words, you are my family, one of my families. And so that was great. And then I said to Brian, Brian, we can't end our first thought was to end tonight, not tonight, but when Joe Biden became president. That's kind of what we were doing, right? And I said, no, Brian, we can't do that because this is the downside. Tonight began the scariest period to me in American history where we weren't at war, because you have an angry, mad man who thinks he's king in the White House. So I said, we at least got to go till January 20th. And then I started thinking more about it. And I said, and that was confirmed. One of the most amazing surprises to me is 70 million votes to Trump. It astounds me. So when Biden takes over, there'll still be an us and a them, but the fight will be a little bit different. So I think what we were doing, and here's what I'm going to announce tonight officially. I haven't even told Brian this, that not a contest, but kind of a thing. I think since we say all the time, Brian, this show is for the people. I have my name that I think would be good. I'll reveal it tonight. Divided, we still stand. But I have some others too, across the great divide. I think we ought to throw it out to our members because they have some good ideas. And the winner, ladies and gentlemen, of that will get the greatest prize you can get. I will guarantee you upon my life that if you are the person selected as giving the best name, welcome, George, by the way, I will make sure that Brian Weinstein never visits your town or your house in person.
One day I'm going to be president here, and you're going to blow the election.
And I'll vote for you, Brian.
Thank you, Lanita Lennon. Thank you. She's always got my back. Yes.
Lanita.
Thank you. You did the greatest thing now. Take that, David Price. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
Lanita's just
that made my day.
Yeah, well, it's easy to make your day. Lanita is simply a person who's kind to losers.
No. Lanita's great. She's great, and thank you, Lanita. That's we're on the same team.
Hey, George, how come you're smiling? Are you happy tonight?
All right, George.
You're
can
up.
you breathe? Oh, he had a freeze frame on us here.
Yeah, I think he's frozen. But that's a great freeze frame.
It is. He's smiling from ear to ear.
It's the Biden 1 freeze frame. Look at that.
You got it. That's true.
I'm gonna ask George to call right back. Dave, that was you. You were too loud, and it just froze the frame. Okay. Let me send him the link.
Brian,
hold on. Let me get a.
Don't try to do unplanned remarks. They just don't work for you.
Hold on. Here we go. Good. All right, George. Let's hope that this thing is working. There we go. Can you breathe, George?
I should have took a picture of that, screenshot of that.
Oh, that was great. Yeah. That was great.
I said
that's what
I don't
been doing all day smiling.
I mean, what can you
smile?
I mean, I said in the beginning of the show, George, that for some reason it's like a weight off my back. I feel like I can breathe right now. Sure. And I actually went out and I was doing the leaves, and it's usually a pain in the ass, but it was actually great. And I was just moving around. I didn't care. It was just the breeze. I actually enjoyed life for the first time in 4 or 5 years. So how was that feeling? I mean, I think some of us, Dave said, you felt like crying. I saw the people celebrating in West Philly. It was an emotional event for me. And that's knowing that he's going to pull some crap, but it can't just be me. It's going to be universal. So what was the feeling in your family when that happened, when you knew it was over?
Well, everybody I spoke to has just been like over the moon. It's just, even some of my, even some of those Trump people sent me individual messages saying congratulations, and
that's very nice. That's very cool.
Let's go in the right direction. And I think people are just tired of you can only be angry at somebody so long before it just takes away all your joy. So 4 years is enough. 4 years is enough. I mean,
and didn't it feel like more than 4 years, George? I mean, for me, it's just because every day was toil. You just couldn't get it off your mind. Like, how much longer can you take this? The guy doesn't sleep.
I'm pretty sure we're all older than we are.
And
I'm with you there.
And the people who like him,
They were having
I'm
a
35
birthday
going on
party.
40. I'm just saying, like, I lost time.
Brian,
Now the other people have to worry, because a lot of them don't like us. Maybe they should be the ones that develop some type of depression over the.
I
next
got something to say on that. Actually, I was talking about this today with somebody. I feel like there was like on Trump's Twitter, there was this like copy and paste message where it was like this big block of text. The only thing that was changing was the country, but it was this big thing saying like my children are afraid of Joe Biden. We're going to move to insert country, Mexico, Canada, whatever. And it was just this huge thing. It looked like it was this planned thing. They're just making fun of people. And I was like, you know what? Donald Trump put children in cages. He divided families up. He is also shooting black people. Like he's not doing anything about the cops. He's got no support for the community. It's like there are children in America who have cause to be afraid of Trump. You can't say that about Joe Biden. He may have some problems back in the day, but he's not like it's there's things that people have that they can be afraid of Donald Trump. So I think it was just so weird that I saw people writing that.
Can I pick up on what you just said? I have an announcement tonight for any people who disconsolate about Donald Trump winning or not losing. I'm sorry, and who said, and I actually encountered this today on one of the websites I was on. A person said, "America is done. Thank God I have property in Costa Rica." And I wrote back to him, and I wrote this. I said, "I've been to Costa Rica. We actually thought of living there. You are so lucky, to be able to go there." So I would extend this offer to any Trumper tonight. I'm not that rich, but I have some money. If you need a few dollars and you want to leave America, I will send it to you. If you need somebody to help you move, I will send Brian, and he will move for you. Look, I understand the feeling. Look, honestly, Judy and I've had conversations about that if Trump won. So, okay, I'm not, whatever, right? They feel it. If they really believe it, I'll help them go.
Well, and I have seen those types of posts. A few people who I know are Trumpers, they've said things like a prayer for the president today to battle the evil that is to come. Like they think that Joe Biden is evil, and Kamala Harris is evil, and that me, this simple person who teaches in a high school who just wants to give the kids a break here and there, I'm somehow evil because I
you
I care
are
about
evil.
These
the other
yeah,
two.
well, I'm so evil, and these son of a guns, this is the way they think, and this gets back to I think this is why
Also,
people like Keith from Australia think that God, are you going to have a civil war? Well,
let me ask you.
you hope not.
Let me ask you a question, each of you gentlemen. Suppose this were reverse, right? And Donald Trump has won, and you just found out at 11 o'clock today. You'd have some pretty dark thoughts, right? Well, these are human beings, right? And I'll do something right. Many people are in a relationship. George's is very good. Brian's not so much. But the idea of it is, you ever been in a fight with somebody you love, and you said some pretty hateful things. And, I'm gonna never speak. Well, the Trump supporters, I will never call them Trumpers again. They deserve that much respect, and that's all. The Trump supporters feel that today just as we would feel. Now, the problem is they felt that way when Barack Obama was president. You know what I mean? So they have a longer standing problem of saying this stuff. But it's to be expected. And Ryan, I wanted to address one thing because Brian is worries about this, and most Americans do. I don't have a law degree, but I have covered enough court to almost qualify. Yes, let's look at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court right now consists of 6 members who are conservatives and 3 members who are liberals. In other words, the conservative view can win and even somebody like one of them can come over to the other side, right? So that's a little scary. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. The Supreme Court, it's very difficult to get a case to the Supreme Court. And I looked at this, and I've listened to attorneys specifically on this issue, and Republican attorneys too, not just Democrat. Unless everybody missed something, which is amazing, there were two cases of fraud in America. They were both done, maybe even inadvertently, you could say, and they were both Republicans. So you're not going to find any fraud. That's number one. It's going to be very hard to get it to the Supreme Court. Number two, there's not the evidence. Number two, even if it got there, and people don't understand this, and I understand they don't understand it, and I'm not, it's just, okay, let's say, please somebody remind me, what was the final margin in Pennsylvania? I forget. It was 20 something at one point. Does anybody know or get me close?
It was close
It was
to 30,
20,000 something.
Let's use
I thought it was close to
20,000 as a round number. And let's say only if they found something, not because it's 20,000, but not, first of all, everybody's vote is still going to stand. They're not going to make Pennsylvania re-vote, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So even if they ran it through, they would need 20,001, rejected votes. So it's not going to happen. In Donald Trump's mind, it is going to happen. Well, guess what? There are many places I don't want to ever be. I never want to be inside Donald Trump's mind, okay? Who knows what goes on up there. The third thing is, and Brian, I'm still trying to school him on this. George, maybe you can help me with it. The Supreme Court, believe it or not, the last thing they want to do and the last thing they would do is overturn an election. Then Brian, being an intelligent man, says, well, what about Florida? Different story. Two reasons it's different. There were improprieties and questions about Florida. There were.
But they didn't overturn the election. They upheld what Florida had said.
And there's what you are. Okay, that's number one. Number two, because of that one state, the election was held. They're going to overturn. Now, the last thing about this, which I just think is the most interesting of all, for Donald Trump to make a case that he was prosecuted, that he would say prosecuted, I did that deliberately, that he was persecuted, then how did Mitch McConnell in your state, Ryan, win by a margin? How did Lindsey Graham defy what I thought were the odds of humans? How did the Republicans gain 5 seats in the House of Representatives? So what it comes down to, Donald Trump has to, and I'll stop in a minute. Donald Trump has to make the case that while Republicans were held across the nation, 7 states got together and worked to deprive me of the win that I got. Because, gentlemen, trust me on this. Donald Trump does not believe he has lost. He does not believe it. He does not believe that. And and Brian and I were talking about this today. I think this is very important. If we get into a legal battle, I'm trying to allay people's fears. Joe Biden will do Joe Biden will do two things.
What's the name of the book you read?
Joe Biden will go out and get the best attorneys, Democrat or Republican, to handle that specific case. But it's more important than that. Joe Biden will listen to their advice and follow it. Donald Trump, who would be in the opposition to him, the best he can come up with right now is Rudy Giuliani. Now, I wouldn't let Rudy Giuliani carry my bags, because what would happen, he would jump on my bed and start touching himself inappropriately, let alone would I let him be around a law. Okay. But that's the kind of attorney. But it doesn't matter, because if Donald Trump had the same level of legal competence that Joe Biden will get, he wouldn't listen to him. Tonight was really kind of scary. Listening to somebody they said, think about this. I mean, this really hit me, hard about Joe. They said, okay, who might be able to get to him, And they said, wow, Ivanka maybe.
Hold on,
He
I
said
was
it
gonna
doesn't
say
matter.
something to George.
No,
George,
he
one second,
won't listen
Dave.
to a
We're
father.
having a technical issue. George,
There you go.
I don't know why it's doing this. It's just relatively new with the program, but what browser are you using? Like, you're using Safari or Google
Chrome.
Chrome's usually pretty
George-
good.
Also using
What,
Chrome.
Ryan, work on that. I'll just tell George what's happening. It is.
I can hear
Brian-
you. It's just my screen freezes.
Well, listen, it's not a racist thing with Brian. He's technologically inept. Okay, so don't ever consider
The guy who can't make a paper airplane's telling me I'm inept.
what happened. What
I just
what
saw two
happens-
birds.
That was. No. So George, don't get mad at him, or don't even assume it's racist.
But I want to get this question into to George before, because this actually relates to something a little bit back. Because you were talking about the Supreme Court, but I want to actually, because we're talking about the military, because George obviously is with the Air Force. You know, George, and we've talked before, we know that even in the military, there are going to be people who support Trump and some people who don't. But what is your, genuine feeling toward, or your perspective towards these type of people? Are they still going to be professional and do the right thing? Okay. And say, you know what? I like Trump, but I am not getting involved in this weird shit, basically.
Well, this is during this presidency. Pregnant. My wife and I went to Europe a couple of times, and we visited Germany. And normally, when you're in uniform, you don't outwardly talk about what branches, what president, you might put on "God Bless America," or But I never seen a Bush T-shirt. I never seen an Obama T-shirt, Clinton, Reagan. I never seen any T-shirt like that. This past time, we would go to Europe and visit the different bases, and we would see guys wearing MAGA hats and all. It was weird, to see that many people come out of representing Trump on base. But at the same time, the people that we were coordinated with, our family and friends, were like, why is this going on? Why are people acting like this? When it comes down to it, when you go to your job, when it's time to go down range, whatever, I 100% believe every airman, every soldier, every sailor, every coastie, and every Marine are going to do their job that they signed up for, regardless of their political affiliation. The foxhole has no political affiliation. So that, as American citizens, we don't have to worry about. We are more than professionals. We're oath bound to do our job, no matter who's in charge. So the thing about it is, we just got to get the average American to just believe in, like Joe Biden said today. He's not the president for the red, not the president for the blue. He's the president for the United States of America.
George, may I ask you?
Yes.
May I ask you a question, George? Because you are a military expert. You're certainly our military expert.
Not an expert, but
well, to you, to us, you are an expert.
Yeah, to us. I mean, I'm just saying. So what I'm saying is there any chance that any military branch, right, would take Brian Weinstein?
Listen, don't let this guy.
Question.
My family has silver stars and gold medals in it. And this guy,
he might be
his great grandfather fell asleep during the Civil War. He was drinking and
well, that part's true.
but looking at Mac and Tilly magazines.
I've spoken at events. This is serious. Brian cannot deny this. I've spoken at events hosted by Brian's family. I've spoken as I do on this show.
That's true.
And Brian's
He was
family
obnoxious. We had to throw him out.
Brian's family actually, and if you don't lie, applauded me, said they just thought I was all that, and they've wanted to say that for years about him. Did I say anything false, Brian? Gentlemen,
you rest your case.
No,
now you have to keep quiet for 15 minutes.
Gentlemen, the prosecution rests.
Okay. All right. So that we got that out of the way with that. Okay. Yes, George. Go ahead.
So tomorrow, when the sun comes up, we would have already created a new environment for ourselves.
Correct.
Everybody who you've had an argument with about a political realm, you need to open your Facebook back up, let them come back in, see if they'll come back. You know, allow them to be us. When we felt as though we had a legitimate gripe, and again, Trump said some things, he allowed some things, and he empowered some people to do things. So now it's time for Joe Biden to say some things, to do some things, and empower some people to do some things. So now that they have to have an opportunity to be in our spot, to look at our point of view, and to either join us or rebuke us. But we can't just ignore them. Just like they didn't ignore us. They entertain our banter, and they entertain, like I said, people have sent me messages saying, congratulations, let's hope this goes the way you want it to go. And then my reply back was, not the way I wanted to go. It's the way it should go, and the way God has intended us to become the United States. There's a reason why this great experiment has worked over 200 years, is because we've been willing as American citizens to come together when it's needed to come together, allow discord, but always we are Americans. No matter what shade of pigmentation is in our skin, no matter what faith we follow, no matter what creed that we may claim, when it's all said and done, we're Americans. We're a country.
Well, it certainly didn't feel like that under Trump. I mean, that.
No.
I think that's the problem too. You never got to feel that was in his mindset.
Yeah. Well, it isn't in his mindset. That's all.
We can't get in his mind. We can't get in his mind because if you get a chance to read the book that his niece wrote, you can't get in his mind and come out the same way.
Mary Trump, right?
What we can do is we just have to appeal to our better angels. You know, even though this whole 4 years things was going on, we try to keep a positive look. It's going to get better. We just kept saying it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It got to get better. Brian, to tell you every.
Here we go again. We got a fruit frozen free.
Brian and I will talk. Brian, do you see what I have to put up with Brian doing this? Now you go ahead.
Now, what I will try when George comes back, I will ask him. Actually, Anthony had a good suggestion.
When he comes
we'll
back,
see how many tabs are on there.
Well, Brian, get him back. Okay, that's your job, right?
Well, he'll call. He'll call. He has to call back. He will.
No, I know. Okay.
Well, one thing that he said that it does resonate with me, but I'm going to struggle.
I'm just going to say one thing to Ryan. I'm sorry to interrupt. George, if you do have, I don't know how many tabs you have open, but if by chance you have more than one tab, maybe that might help. If not,
that's how it is. I think you do. You
Yeah, I know that Chrome, the longer you have it open, it eats bandwidth. You have to close it out completely and then reopen it. Chrome is bad. It's bad about that.
And there are some issues.
And George, listen to me,
right,
sir.
George, what you just said, we should put on tape. What you just said. No, I'm don't.
Hey, seriously.
But
okay.
I am serious now, and that part is serious. And at that moment,
now, you just said serious, and then Siri came up. Jesus, Dave. My phone's actually listening to you. Don't listen to that motherfucker.
When Brian is done making complete utter fool of himself for the world to see, I will get back to conversation with you, George. What you said, every American not only should hear but try to enact. But it made me have a question, and I'm actually going to do. I wasn't going to do that. I am going to do that. But I guess my question is, while we should invite everybody back, it's also a time, I guess, when we might still want to get rid of somebody. Don't you think it's time for me to drop Brian as my personal Facebook page? How do you weigh in on that?
You can change it to put Biden and Harris up there, so that'd be your personal.
No, I meant I don't want him as a friend.
Well, you can always click acquaintance, right? You know.
No, I don't want him anywhere near my electronic page.
Okay. Where's Gary Peacock when you need him? Okay, Gary, can you call this guy up?
Okay.
Well, I do have something to say based on what George was saying before the blip. And this is going to be very hard for me in general, just in terms of like doing this. But I do not have anyone that has said congratulations on Biden's win who is a Trump person that I personally know. I don't have, like, the people that I've engaged with have been relentless and just cruel. And anyone who knows me personally knows that I am very big on forgiveness, moving forward, working out differences. I have no problem having hard conversations. It's easy for me. Like, I'm okay with that kind of stuff. Conflict resolution for me is not something that has really ever caused me a lot of stress. I just do it, and some people like it, some people don't. But oh my gosh, like I was looking at Facebook profiles today of people that I could potentially try to let back in my life, for example, like you were saying. And I'm looking at their profiles and they're like, oh, Biden's a cheater. The whole family's horrible. All his supporters suck. You know, it's just like all that, normal nonsense. And
Right.
oh, it's going to be hard. Because I do agree, we need to unite. I agree with Biden's message. We have to unite. I mean, there's a lot of things we need to unite on beyond just political differences. I mean, like, the country has been divided for 400 years. I mean, it's not just like recent, you know. And so, like, I'm all for that, but holy crap, I don't know what to do with some of these people.
Ryan,
It seems like the military is the only thing that's united.
Yeah.
Who's got their music playing? Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I mentioned his name online. Okay.
I
You didn't answer the phone. You didn't answer the phone.
Listen, Brian, please be quiet.
This is what
Listen,
you do to
Ryan.
Gary.
Ryan,
Jesus.
Ryan, that was an excellent question. And I don't know you that well, but I know you fairly well. A suggestion: you make the overture, and if they accept, fine. If they don't, you've put the burden on them. I'm talking just your really close friends.
Sure, I got you.
And if they violate that, they're gone. But it takes you like to be the good guy. I'm sorry, you do, and that's a great thing. And this allows you to be the good guy and prove one more time. And like what George said, it dovetails with that. Whether you go to the Bible or human or whatever, I'll tell you how I'm going to handle this. I can forgive, but I can't forget what they did. And I'm kind of anticipating, but I can't anticipate what they're going to do, because just like I'm a different person now after 11 o'clock today, they may be. So, and you know what they're going to say to me? Who are you to give me a second chance? Fine. Okay. I'm really glad. I'm glad you didn't come back.
Give me a second chance?
I have friends that will say that. I know that. I was using the term friends. And then I will say to them, I'm going to make some money out of this. I've just decided, gentlemen, I'm announcing it on the air live. I am going to be my new company. I will form it tomorrow. I will do none of the labor. Brian will do it all. I'll make all the money.
Yeah, just give me all the work.
Yes, that's correct. To any Donald Trump supporter, if you want to move, Dave Price will have a company that will move you cheaper than any other moving company in the world. And I will also guarantee that Brian will not visit any country that you go to, but he will carry every piece of your furniture to put it in the trunk.
I just don't know what this guy did 20 years ago before he met me. He's like, I became the gold mine. Who's this guy? The first day, this guy attacks me in the hall. Who are you? Jesus. Anyway, but no, I kind of actually like your idea as long as I'm not part of it. But I actually have this feeling. I wish they would leave.
Yeah,
they're the ones. They're the ones who always tell us, we should leave the country. Well, they should be leaving the country, but we're missing George. I don't know what's going wrong, but just keep trying, George. Don't worry, George. We'll just keep throwing you in. It creates excitement because somebody just watching says, "Wow, we got a new guest," and 8 times.
One of the things that before I had got jacked up before, Dave was talking about the Supreme Court. Trump's going to run into a bad situation, because if he tries to go and say that Pennsylvania did something illegal to the ballots, if you look at the Pennsylvania representatives for within their state, from auditor to everything. So many Republicans in the state,
Exactly.
the state house, won their seats and took seats from Democrats. So if it would really take somebody, a diabolical mind, a genius, to pick out the president and separate him from the rest of the ballots.
And they were the ones,
correct.
the state legislatures are the ones who decided in these states, which obviously, were going to be swing states. They waited till after that night to say you can send them in because they were going to start this hullabaloo. I mean, that was brought up on MSNBC, is that you notice in a state like Florida where they knew they were going to win, they were allowed to count their votes, their mail-ins early. So this has been planned right from the beginning. So I find it's so duplicitous and it's so obvious. In this sense, I give credence to what Dave is saying, that basically it's not going to make its way through because any smart lawyer is going to see through this.
Did you see what Stephen?
The courts are going to see through it. The courts are going to say,
as long as it doesn't,
Dave
doesn't get to the
but the
Supreme
president
Court.
don't get it. If you're going to cheat, you're going to cheat for the whole group.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Did you see what Stephen Colbert said about the cheating stuff?
I did see the one where he was very emotional. I don't know, that was like 2 or 3 days ago.
No. I'll explain. He said if Joe Biden actually found a way to coordinate cheating in 5 different states,
Right.
and stuffing ballots, getting hundreds of thousands filled out and all this stuff, he is definitely who we need to handle this pandemic.
Yeah, right.
I completely agree with that.
Gentlemen, I'm sitting here thinking as we're bantering back and forth, and it's a sad commentary, but it's true. If Donald Trump had won, it would have been bad for America and bad for us and good for the people who wanted him. With Joe Biden winning, it's good for Joe Biden, it's good for us, it's good for America, and it's good for them, but of course they can't see it. And this is going to sound joking, but I'm serious. If you were to talk about winners, one of the biggest winners tonight, and I'm going to open a dating service for them tomorrow, are unmarried, young, white, male supporters who work for Donald Trump or the Republicans in Washington, D.C. I'm not making this up. There were at least 8 different articles over the period that they could not find a woman who would go out with them, including paid escorts. That's not a joke. Now think about that. A woman who makes her money, right, would deny making money. So, gentlemen, if any Trumpers are listening, it'll be the Dave Price dating service for white men who once backed Donald Trump.
Isn't that a glorified pimp in a way, or no? Am I wrong?
Pimp.
Dave's dating service, it's like this
Brian,
red light in front of his window, and
Brian,
some neon flickering. Dave's dating service, and this little like cubby hole that people have to like peek through and go, shaven haircut.
Brian, I try to.
Okay.
I don't. This word you used, pimp. What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
It's short for pimple. Okay. You don't get any when you get older. Okay. That's all I was saying. We can move on now. The rest of us, you know what I'm saying.
You know what's amazing? You know what's amazing, Brian? You
Uh-oh.
announced that you had to go to the bathroom off camera. Have you gone to the bathroom? Are you going to the bathroom now while you're on camera?
No. I'm quite fine right now.
I worry about that. Good.
Right,
Okay.
right. Geez, and there were some other things I wanted to talk about too that related to that. Oh yeah, that's it. Here was my idea. That
Okay, everybody go get a drink now.
okay,
He's got an idea.
that's good.
There's
That's
no
good.
reason out
Okay.
there to
See,
listen.
George, what I put up with Ryan. You already know what I put up with.
This is the commercial. It's a Super Bowl that you've already seen. You know it's not any good. So go enjoy it. We'll see you when
Hey, George. Now you know if he had lesson plans. You know damn well he didn't follow them. Okay.
I didn't.
Because if he was watching something the night before, that was the new lesson plan the next day. Okay, now we already had. I think there was a phone call from Justin Trudeau to Biden and a few others, Macron, the mayor of Paris. So what I'm saying is that if you get all of the world leaders, at least the major ones who are decent leaders, not Putin, of course, giving him praise, and then you start thinking about all these international companies. If things did get tight, I think one thing that Biden could do is say, look, just like we put sanctions on Russia, you can temporarily, during these 2 months, if Trump tries anything, put sanctions on us and say, look, we're not going to deal with the United States. You close off everything because there's the money. And that's the one thing. Trumpers that are crazy, the ones that, Ryan's talked about, they like their F-150s, but they also like having money in their back pockets. And you take that away from them, just like taking away their girlfriend, they're going to change. They understand, things that they like. And I think that's just how shallow they are.
Ladies and gentlemen,
it's still a good idea. The main thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, I must interrupt for a moment. History has been made twice today. Number one, Joe Biden is the president. Number two, Brian Weinstein just said something that is not only makes sense, it is brilliant, Brian.
Thank you.
That was a brilliant idea.
Thank you, Dave.
There you are.
Okay.
I now will probably.
You will. Mom.
But one of the things you brought up, Brian. My volume again.
No,
you're good. I mean, I hear background, but you're good.
Background noise.
It's my wife and daughter.
Well, Dave has that effect on them. I know that. So
People don't. George,
he's influencing the kids now. Who's that guy talking all much?
People don't realize, like what I do, and it's just a suggestion. We live in the 10th floor, and I take my wife, tie her outside during the broadcast, and she's tied outside on the 7th floor, so she can't interrupt. And I love it. It's very, very good. Go ahead.
No, but with other countries acknowledging Joe Biden, it's the same thing America does when another leader, another country gets elected. We acknowledge them, and that was one of the contentions that happened when Hong Kong elected a governor. We acknowledged that governor, or in Taiwan, we acknowledged Taiwan. So same thing that Trump did, he acknowledged Jerusalem. We add credence to the validity of that government by acknowledging them. So by Trudeau, and trust me, Angela Merkel's coming. Everybody's about to start coming. They all start going to sending Biden. Matter of fact, he's going to get phone calls saying, hey, that he may not make public, but just telling him we're ready to recognize you in January.
Right.
And that's
recognize him and only him as the leader.
Right. And his transition.
Only can have one.
And we've done that to other countries too, where we only recognize, even if they were, out of office, so to speak. Like
we just
China.
recently did that. Man, it just
I can't get it. I know what you're talking about.
Because I think it was in one. The country had an election.
We acknowledged the one and not the other, and we acknowledged
the incumbent didn't want to give his seat up, but we acknowledged the new one, even though he actually never got to take the seat because the incumbent wouldn't give up the seat. And that's a strong arm government does things like that, but we don't have to worry about that.
Well, I would say that would be a really good thing to isolate this kind. If Trump did do something like that, I'm not saying Dave and I and Ryan have already talked about that. It's unlikely it will be able to happen, but if it did, that would be an effective tool. I would say go ahead, sanction us, because even if it means you to shut it down, because money is the root of everything in this country, and you shut that thing down.
We have to December 20th. To validate all the elections. They have ample time to validate all the elections. A month before the inauguration, then everybody puts their stamp on it. Each state says this is it.
Right. Then and how do they get around that too? There's no if those states that obviously he's only really caring about Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. He had Republican legislatures in most of those states. They're the ones who set the rules. What's going to happen. I mean, he even knows when they count it, they're going to come up with nothing. It's going to make him look even worse. And they'll probably, if anything, come up with something against the other ones. Now, the only thing I could think of is if he went to these to these red counties and some kind of shenanigans. But
You
I don't think
can't-
he can pull it off.
Brian, that's a
So those
tremendous
tickets,
thing.
those ballots are irrelevant. He wants
Right.
to change the blue ballots.
Right.
He wants to
Here's-
change the
and-
ones
right.
that went blue.
Here's the other thing. We all have to believe what we believe, right? So as a journalist, I pick certain journalists, and I believe you can take them to the bank. So this is literally this is bad, but I mean these just they if they print it, it's beyond true because they're not going to print anything, and a lot of these people use a word that the general public doesn't understand. Sources. Well, sources mean this. Sources mean they're willing to tell you the truth, but they can't attach their name to it. You would have nothing out of the White House.
Hold
if
it.
you didn't use sources.
I don't know. Just so Gary, I don't know what he's talking about here, but he wants you to address his comment.
We don't have it, Gary.
He said, "Address my comment." I don't know what comment he thought. I mean,
Never mind. No, Brian.
oh, he said those legislatures also have power. He said those legislatures.
Yeah, well, of course, but it works both ways, Gary. Yeah, it does. I mean, you can worry about, but there's, like George kind of said, there's Democrat. A lot of states are split. Pennsylvania, Democratic governor, Republican, legislature. I don't know what their Supreme Court is like, but the point I want to make about Donald Trump is this. I believe this story to be true. It came out of, like I said, one of these reputable reports. Now, we all know, whatever we think about Donald Trump, and this is based on his tweets. Ryan, I mean, I get his tweets. Do you get them or not really? I mean, I'm on his Twitter feed just to see them. So I know this is true.
I just look them up. I don't really follow anyone on Twitter.
Well, I mean, but I do just, anyway.
Yeah.
But this is true. The first tweets he ran about the voting and all that when it's coming in, he said, all caps, stop the count.
Yeah.
Now, what I loved about that is I right away sent something back to him and say, President Trump, I rarely agree with you, but I agree with you. We should stop the count.
Yeah.
Right.
And the reason, if we stop the count there, not that he was losing. Now, this is true based on this reporting, and I believe it, as they've had so many times, some smart people in the White House, what do we do now? So they got together and they came up with a plan. So the official word was, well, he didn't mean stop the count. He meant stop counting the illegal votes. Okay, that's not what he said. And the official line, he changed it immediately to stop the fraud. So he did listen, but there's an inherent problem behind all of this. Can you imagine George, Brian, and Ryan? Can you imagine this? People, they did not reveal who, so I'm assuming one of them was one of the sources. And again, quick journalistic lesson. No rightful reporter will do a one source story. You have to have it verified by at least two sources. No, if they do that, yes, it's been done, and they probably won't keep a job in journalism. So that's why I believe this is true. So some people, we don't know who, sat the president down. Imagine this, the president of the United States, and had to explain to him why, because he was livid, why they wanted to change his wording of stop the count. And they had to explain to him not, what counting is. He did not understand that if he stopped the voting when he was behind, he would lose. Now, people always try to know what it is, and I've given a lot of thought to this. Donald Trump is not stupid. Donald Trump has a theory, and it's worked for him most of his life. And it's a two-part theory: create chaos, and I will emerge, because which he's done right from day one. And the second thing is, he may be the most unusual man in the history of America in this sense. Until today, Donald Trump, with justification, could say, this isn't right. I've never lost anything. How can I lose this? Well, you say, whoa. I'm going to add to that, because Donald Trump defines winning and losing in his terms. George, could I ask you a question? If 6 of your businesses had gone bankrupt, would you consider yourself a loser?
I would be a loser.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know who doesn't consider himself a loser? Seriously? Donald Trump, because he could redefine winning and losing. Now, Ryan, you've had friends, and you're kind of really good in that
Lowest bar.
psychological error, air. We are all influenced very much by our parents, right? And some of us have a love-hate relationship. I had a love-love relationship. I couldn't say it enough how much wisdom, even though I rejected a lot of it when I was young, my mother and father imparted to me, right? Well, Donald Trump had a father, and Donald Trump listened to his father. And here are his exact words. He said something to this effect. Now, we're not talking about 20-year-old Donald or 19-year-old Donald. I don't know what age it was, but it was certainly the Donald that still had a chance to be something. And he said something like this: son, there are two kinds of people in the world. Now, normally you would finish that winners and losers, right? I mean, we've heard that. He didn't do that. He said to his son, who is being influenced and very impressionable, as we all would be, but he's had daddy issues since birth. He said to his son, there are two kinds of people, killers and losers. Let me repeat that. Killers and losers. And if you study Donald Trump's history, he took those words to heart. So you've got a man who's had a plan. It's worked for him. This goes out to you, Brian. It's not a credo to Donald Trump, but I got to do this for you. He slept with Stormy Daniels. And what I mean by that is he's gotten women that people could only imagine. He's done things. He's gone through millions, possibly billions of dollars. So he could almost say, in his mind, he can justify. But guess what? Here's his fatal flaw besides his pride, which is, that's ancient Greek tragedy. He never understood the difference between running a business and being president of the United States. He never got it, and he will never get it. And there are things that you can do as president, CEO of Trump Enterprises that you can't do as president of the United States. You can fire people, which he did good in both. You can do all these things, but the thing you can't do is when you lose the boat, you can't keep the job. And he doesn't understand that. I don't feel any empathy or sympathy for him. I've said before, and it's not about me. And Brian, please, if I'm not telling the truth, please say, I've said before, and I believe this. I said election day. Today, really, ladies and gentlemen, this is Tuesday. The sixth day of Tuesday. That's really what it is. This could have happened, and it didn't that night. The scariest time for America in the history of America, when we weren't at war, will be, I said November 4th, so we'll say November 7th, will be November 8th to January 20th at noon.
You did say that. I give you that.
Every time. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do not expect any kind of normal behavior for Donald Trump. Donald Trump can only be Donald Trump. He does not have to concede the election for it to be real. He will not concede. He will never concede. A concession will never come out of his mouth. He does not have to attend the inauguration, and he will not. And he doesn't have to. And I don't know if you gentlemen saw the quote from Joe Biden, one of Joe Biden's aides. I think it's the quote of the election. He said, "Oh, we don't worry about Mr. Trump leaving the White House. Trust me, the federal government is very prepared to remove trespassers
right,
from the White House."
And he said that twice, because he said it recently and he said it a long time ago.
So what I'm saying is,
She said it in July.
Two things. Don't expect normal behavior from Donald Trump because he can't deliver it. But don't expect, because he doesn't do it, to have any impact other than to cement a position that he already has. The worst president in the history of the United States of America that will go into the history books, and your great, 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 great grandchildren, should the earth last no more, will know the name of Trump and revile it. He is guaranteed there will never be a statue of him anywhere unless we go up. And I'm starting a business tonight. It will be the Donald Trump outhouse.
Okay, hold on. I'm
And
trying to
people
pick.
people will
Gary
come around.
said comment
to
sent.
do that.
Gary, I don't know which comment you.
Please stop worrying about Gary.
Okay.
Gary, send me the message on the goddamn phone so Brian can
Thank you.
concentrate.
Okay.
He can barely do technology as it is. All right, so
Well, you didn't yell at me that time, so that's pretty good, right, Ryan? George?
I did yell
Now
at you.
he's yelling at
incompetent
you.
twit.
Okay.
You're worried
Well, he
about-
said that he sent. I don't know what comment he's talking about.
Oh Jesus, we're gonna. Brian, Brian, why don't you talk? Why don't you talk about?
People, there are people all over the world listening to this right now. Literally, from us, they don't know what we're talking about here. But it's
No,
part of a
but
big.
they're witnessing your incompetence in real time.
Uh-oh.
Who is it? I can't.
It's Gary.
Could you? No,
I can't
just
answer the
again,
phone.
Ryan, again, I know you were trying to make a point. You just exhibited your incompetence. What you did is take a phone and put it towards your light, which means all we saw was a glare. Do you have any idea? Can you go to the bathroom?
Well, anyway, I'm just
Where
saying.
you
I mean,
are?
Gary's upset. He said, "Sent." I don't know what comment, Gary. I really don't. I
I
posted
see that
your
he
comment.
said, Brian, do you need some help, or do you need someone to help you follow the threads? That's
I mean,
the
we follow
most recent comment.
how. I mean, I'm the only one that can
that's-
control this. I'm doing my best, and that's it.
Gary, you're asking Brian to do something he can't do. Be competent. If you need something, call me on the phone. I will then voice your comment on the
That's
air.
better. Yeah, Gary, send your comments to Dave. To Dave Price.
No, Gary.
Yes,
don't-
yes.
Would you shut up? Gary, don't
Welcome
send
to the
them.
family, folks.
Oh, Jesus, God. Jesus, God help us. Gary, do not send them. Phone them to me. Do you have any idea about the English language, Brian?
Hold on, now he's posting. Can I rewind? I can't rewind it right now. I can't go on. Gary, I'm doing what I can do. So please,
your pencil and you can-
just no,
you can go
like
backwards.
Gary, it's okay, Gary. Just send the comments to Dave. He's in
Don't
control.
send them, Gary.
You just said you just
Call-
send them to you. Oh, call him. Yes, better. Call
You
him.
are the stupidest man in America that isn't named
Don't-
Donald Trump.
Okay.
I said, don't send them to me. Call. Do you know the
Okay,
difference
call.
between
Call him.
making a phone call and an IM message? Obviously, you don't, because tonight you said I will message you the link, and you said it in an email.
Okay.
You are.
My
stupid.
apologies. Okay, Gary, call him. Just call him, and then he'll relay the things, and then George, myself, and Ryan will finish the show, and Dave will come in.
Do you see this? Can everybody see this?
I get my wife's upset right now. Okay.
Can everybody see this?
Too
I'm
loud.
going to do this to this right now, right?
All right. Okay.
And I'm going to do this. And my only wish was, Brian, that your name was on there.
Okay.
That's number one.
I'm
Number two, can everybody see this? Notice how I'm doing this and moving it so people can actually see it.
It's upside down.
I'm sorry.
Well, that was
Dave
Brian
screaming,
doing it.
Ryan.
Now it's
Dave
me
was
doing
screaming. Dave was screaming. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
Right? You can see it? I no longer need this mask. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, Americans, for doing what this says. We have stopped the infection of Donald Trump. What I'm going to do right now is pull this, which is, Brian, a trash basket, in case you don't realize what it is. And I'm going to put this in that trash basket. Now,
We got a comedy routine tonight.
the only thing that I wish is your name had been on that too.
Okay. George, did you get injured? I see a. Hold it. I can't.
I don't know what happened. It just started. I guess all the typing. So
All right. Okay. This is what this show will do to you. I'll tell you. That's.
Jesus,
crazy.
God Almighty, heaven.
All right, I lost complete concentration. I wanted to clear
never
that
had any.
issue up.
Can I make a suggestion?
For those of you
Brian?
at home, I know that we actually have had a good crowd watching tonight. We're a big family here, and things happen, and we're very, very vocal. We speak very directly,
Oh,
so you'll have to
Jesus
excuse
God.
us for this behavior.
Brian, could you do me a favor and and save this show? just like African Americans saved America. Could
Dave,
you?
I'm call your parole officer. All right.
Are you done? I'll wait. Are you done?
Okay.
This is how you have to teach.
Okay,
my
I'm putting
class.
you. We'll put you on. Okay.
I'll wait. I'll wait. Are you done, Brian? The only thing that will save this show tonight is you to use the limited skill you have to run the show technologically, not open anything, and let the adults at the kitchen table, which would be George, Ryan, and myself, have a discussion that is meaningful.
Okay, fine.
Now,
Gary, make sure you call him.
That's all I can say. It's
Gary,
not
make
that
sure
I
you
hate
call
you,
him.
although I do.
Please call
It's
him
not
now.
that I think that you are incompetent, although you are. It's just I know this how much this show means to you, and you are like the captain of the Titanic, moving this ship ahead directly in the iceberg as long as you continue to do what you're doing tonight. You are destroying your own show.
Are you for real?
That's amazing. You recorded all those women laughing after you had what they kind of call
Look, I'm just. These are people out there. You know, I can't help
You
it.
recorded all those women and women that responded to that time you took your clothes off, which leads me to another question. Earlier tonight,
No
you talked
more discussions about bathrooms and all that
right,
kind of
I'm
stuff.
not. This is a serious question.
Enough.
Okay, serious question. Earlier in the show, and this is that yes, no, I do with you. Earlier in the show, did you say you spent part of your time today raking leaves and that you enjoyed it? Is
No,
that correct?
No, I did not rake leaves.
What did you do? Something
I
in the yard.
use the I don't even know what the name of the brand is, but I use the leaf blower and I blew leaves.
All right. So basically, what was happening? You were outside blowing. Is that what you're telling me?
I was moving my leaves from one part of my lawn.
Is
to
that
the
what
street.
you call it?
I was moving.
Is that what you? Is that what you
Moving,
call it
okay?
now?
Movement of
Moving my
leaves.
Is that what you call it now? Okay.
Okay.
No matter what, I just have a serious question. You were fully dressed while you were doing that, right?
Oh, here we go. The deranged pervert starts going here talking about clothes. All right, we got to move on. All right, we should be happy tonight and not talk
We
about
are
me.
happy.
All right.
I am happy.
Okay. Now,
I'm a happy guy.
thankful.
now,
Thankful.
but we should at least. There's like a caveat. You know, we do have to deal with Trump. He watches these scenes of people in cities all over the place celebrating. It's like the Super Bowl in every city: Chicago, Washington, Philadelphia, New York, you name it. People are just, you know, the only bad thing was, you know, you have less social distancing, but most people were wearing masks. But people were having a great time. They're celebrating like their team won the Super Bowl. If there was any camaraderie, it was that. Now, that's tough for a Trumper to watch. But the number one person who doesn't want to watch that is Trump. He must have been furious. And already we know that Mike Espy may be fired. That's, you know, obviously the Secretary of Defense. When he sees that, that draws attention away from him. And people see Biden as the president, at least tonight. You know, the president is on television, even though he's president-elect. So my take is, you know, this guy he's like a little child and he's furious. What's your take? Am I right? Am I partially right? And does this not bode well for tomorrow? Because he's a vengeful guy, isn't he?
I would
yeah,
like to
he's definitely
I would
vengeful.
like to reserve last comment. So
You will be last
Sure.
comment, yes.
Okay.
All right.
I have to go at 11, so I'll go first. How's that?
right.
Got it.
Yeah, basically, I think that Trump is furious. I think when you have somebody who's narcissistic, the worst thing you can do to them is make them lose and face themselves on terms that they didn't choose. And that's what he's going to have to do. The whole world's going to hold him accountable. He'll be removed forcibly or not from the White House one way or the other. But at the end of the day, he's not going to be president come January 21st, and he's got to reconcile that. And in his mind, I mean, we've already seen it. He tweeted out, "I won the election, 71 legal votes. I won the election." Well, no, you didn't at that point. You know, sorry, but he's just, yeah. I think he's going nuts right now. I think he's going nuts. His Twitter. I don't go to Twitter that much, but I spent the day today looking at all the people's Facebook profiles that I had disagreements with, and looking at his Twitter and everything. And all I saw on his Twitter was a wall of censored tweets that said there may be misinformation in this tweet. Like it was just the whole thing all the way
That's
down.
a given. You're right, Ryan. That's just
Right. I was like, okay, he's having a bad day. So yeah, he's pissed.
And he's a commander in chief. And George, you could weigh in on this. A guy that's a commander in chief has got to be able to keep his cool. But that's kind of like the last thing he does. So what do you think his mindset is right now? Like, what's he going to do from your experience?
Well, the first thing comes to my mind is the Emperor's new clothes. Remember he thought he was fully dressed,
Right.
And then when he walked through the streets and people were laughing at him. See, right now Donald Trump is realizing people are laughing at him. The whole time he never thought anyone was laughing at him. He thought he was wearing a new suit, and it was just so glorious. So right now, his reality is starting to fall down on him. And Ryan hit a nail right then when he said that he's not used to people ridiculing him, and he has no recourse. Right now, he's looking. He went to the golf course. He's in the White House, and he can hear them singing and dancing in the streets. He can hear them doing an electric slide on Black Lives Matter Boulevard. He can hear them on 7th. He can hear them all around.
Right.
Just joyous. The gay pride flags are just waving everywhere. Transgender men and women are running up and down the street, and there's nothing he can do about it. So that's driving him crazy that we're that happy that he lost. We're happier than they are mad. They're angry that he lost.
Great point.
Our joy is just too big to be contained. So my biggest fear is the other side continues to fight, and people who have Twitter. One of the teachers at our building sent me a message today, Brian. He said that he's been on Donald Trump's Twitter feed, and he said he's been sending out
Because
Twitter
is he a Trumper or somebody who just follows?
He's one of us.
Good.
He's one of us, and he said he always has done. Like, I watch Fox to find out their side of the lie, how they're lying. So he said the whole time Trump has been sending out all these erroneous statements, and the people are getting fired up. Like, instead of him saying, "Hey, look, America, we've had an election, and until proven otherwise, let's proceed as we have normally done." And every rational human being in the world would have said that. All four of us would have said, "You know what? Like a sports analogy, let's play until the whistle blow, and let's line up and shake hands and say good game." I coached against a team one time, and the coach walked off the floor. His players were lined up to shake hands, and he ran to the locker room. And then later, I seen him another time, and he was like, "Something happened. I had to run." No, you was upset that y'all lost, and it sets a bad example for his players.
Absolutely.
So right now, he's setting a bad example for a third of America.
Okay, my turn. Right?
Yep.
Okay, my turn. First of all, Ryan, I know you have to run. Thank you.
Yes, Ryan.
I just want to make one comment about you tonight on this show. In each sentence that you uttered tonight was more sensible and more important than all the words Brian Weinstein has ever uttered in his life. And for that,
Dave, there's a fly
grateful.
on your lip. I'm not kidding.
Now,
it's
George,
an ant.
same thing to you. We can stay for a few minutes, not long, because my wife's looking at me like, you better get the hell off of there. George, again, same thing to you. I don't think either one of your gentlemen understand how important you are to this show. Because guess what? If you aren't on, I'm left with Bozo Jr. there. And it's just me and him. All right. And that's the thing. Now,
See what I go through with this? 20 years.
We're talking about a serious comment to you, George. you're absolutely what you said. Any normal human, so Trump is incapable of delivering that. Now I'm going to use a musical analogy that I gave to Brian, and of course he didn't understand it. But I think every 5-year-old out there who's smarter than Brian will understand this. I am a keyboard player. Brian is a guitar player. We walk into a music store. Brian picks up a guitar, and I pick up a keyboard. We pay for it. We walk out of the store. There's a chance that what Brian just got could be worth millions someday because guitars can appreciate, right? The keyboard that I had, whether it was more than what Brian spent or what was more than not, the minute that keyboard leaves that store, at most, it's worth half the money if I turn around and take it back. If I keep it a day, it's worth pennies on the dollar. Now, what does that have to do with Donald Trump? At 11 o'clock today, Donald Trump became that keyboard. He lost 50% of his power. And in a few days, he will be pennies on the dollar. So things he could do up to now, he will not be able to do as president. What he will do is demand they be done, get more angry, and do the things he can. There is not an appointed official in Washington tonight that Trump can fire whose job is safe. You mentioned one. I see him definitely firing the CIA director, the FBI director. I see him firing Bill Barr. It's a possibility. Because, listen, we haven't heard Bill Barr's name in 5 days. Now, either Bill Barr is alone, and you know what I find interesting about that? We're trying to no. This is fascinating to me, Brian. This is fascinating to me. I'll tell you why it's fascinating.
The highlight of the show.
Yeah, it's a highlight for 12-year-old boys. Are you ever going to get past that? Ever? There's those women laughing at you again. What?
I think it's a pen mark, not a fly.
Well, that's what he gets from clicking his pen so much.
Yeah.
See this pen?
Is that a
I did
Sharpie?
it.
That doesn't count if it's a Sharpie tonight, okay?
Listen,
It doesn't
I admit when I'm around idiots and I have a clickable pen, I click it. So the other night I had one, you were speaking, I just kept clicking it. I did this night specifically so I wouldn't do that. But I do have a use for this pen.
Thank you.
I do. Yes, I do have a use for this. Do you see roughly how long this pen is, Brian? When I see you the next time, as God is my witness, I'm going to take this very pen and stick it right up your nose. Now, why that is better than sticking it up your ass is this. This is small and narrow. This,
Lanita, help me out.
here's what'll happen, Brian. Ladies and gentlemen, a normal person, were I to stick this up their nose, it would go to their brain. Brian's brain is so small that this large instrument will not get to his brain. But I'm going to do it.
Oh, God. That's it for tonight. Y'all done.
Yeah.
Lanita got the call. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Okay.
Love you. Lanita, love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Brian, thanks for having me on.
You're
I'm gonna
welcome.
head
And
off.
I think that fly was the star of the show tonight, actually.
I think it was.
You
From
know?
Pence to Dave.
It was a joyous day today. We started a new direction. Let's keep praying that our better angels will prevail.
Right, I agree with you, George. And George, thank
I
you
agree.
so much for coming on. And I'm going to see you Monday for sure. So,
God willing.
and by the way, I don't know if you know, guys, the Governor Murphy from New Jersey said that the COVID rate is up to 6% now, infection rate. So this doesn't look good for us ever really getting back.
Yeah,
You know,
Kentucky's at
in any other phase.
100%, yeah.
Right. It's I don't think it's, and you know, I'm having a really tough time teaching because you have you can't see the kids. It's tough. So it's tough for the kids. It's tough for everybody. But thank you everybody for showing up.
Yeah.
And we'll do this again. You know, and George,
Yep.
again, thanks. You'll be part of the show, and let's just hope Trump doesn't flip out tomorrow. So we'll
Oh,
see.
he'll flip out.
He will flip out. All right, I'm
will.
going to
choose a file to end us here. And let's see. Okay. I know what I'm going to do here.
I hear a Sharpie writing.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting him out of here.
I hear it.
He's getting out.
Fake smiles, walk miles in an obvious funk. Thoughts deep, boys steeped in the depths that he sunk. Big stress, depressed in the middle of fall. Sky gray, I late in the thick of it all. I wonder how long can a human survive just staying alive or carrying the rest of the tribe? Waiting for the day to arrive or struggling dies, and I be doing way, way more than getting by. So why? Cop myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. Got myself a cup of coffee, sipping water when it's softly, cleansing me of stress I hold. I needed me some rainy days, so I needed me some rainy days, so rest for the weary, so we teary eyes realize life is so much more than just living the day. Every day I can sit and reflect and reconnect to myself and all that I've been given. See, giving up is not an option. So when I'm looking at gray skies, I'll be adopting a new way to deal with a test. Lord, relieve me of stress. The ring be looking like when blessings drop in. And so I got myself a cup of coffee, sipping water in it soul.